Let's start by defining the thank you receipt. It is both an opportunity for you to thank your donors and also a tax document. Denari offers two forms of receipts, printed and emailed, and the donor gets to choose which they prefer. Both printed and emailed versions have a section for a letter body that you create. There you can thank donors and give them any information you'd like. There's also a section that provides the tax information, the gift date, amount, fund, etc. First, we'll look at the donor's preference. As I mentioned, the donor can choose which version, printed or emailed, they prefer. They can choose that through online community once they're logged in, or they can communicate that to you in some other way, and you can set that internally. It is also possible for you to decide that everyone is getting an e-receipt or everyone is getting a printed receipt and not give them a choice, but we'll look at how you might set their preference internally. We'll start by clicking on Names, then Nameless Management, and you'll search for your donor. I'll just pick one here. On the right, I'm going to select e-correspondence emails first. The reason I came here first is because you must have an email on file if the donor is going to get e-receipts. Click Add New to add a new one, or if necessary, click on one of the existing ones, which I'll do here. Be sure there is a valid email address there and that it is marked primary. If this were not already marked primary, you'd have a Make Primary button over here on the right, and you could use that to make this email address primary. Primary simply means that the email will be used for correspondence. You can store multiple email addresses here, but only one can be primary at a time. Now we can set the preference. So I'll click on e-correspondence preferences. In the e-receipt field, choose an email address that will be used for receipts. In the delivery field, choose the donor's preference and click Save. Notice there are other options for other types of statements here, and they work in the same way as receipts. Note, if the donor selects their preference through the web page, it will be changed here automatically. Now let's back up a little and talk about the letter body. As mentioned earlier, both the e-receipt and the printed receipt have a space for a letter body that you create. You do that by clicking on the correspond link and then letter bodies. And here we see a list of existing letter bodies that have been created previously. You can click Add New to create a new one, or I'll just click on an existing letter. First, we see the description field. It tells you what this letter body is about. This can be anything like March letter, banquet letter, etc. Next, we need a code, and it just has to be unique. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's used by Denari to identify the letter record. And now we see two letter body fields, the text field and the HTML editor field. So picture an 8.5 by 11 page. The top section will have the donor's name and address, then the salutation that Denari fills in. You don't have to do anything with those fields. And then comes this letter body. Again, both emailed and printed version are the same in the default templates, so you'll enter here just the letter body portion. The printed version used for the printed receipt, this top box, only allows you to enter text. The HTML version used for e-receipts does allow you to enter photos if needed, and you can bold, underline, etc. Just click the HTML editor link and design the layout as you would want. Click Save when you're done. How does Denari determine which letter goes with which batch? We'll click the Gifts Pledges link on the left and then gift batching. And I'll select a batch at random here for our purposes. And I'll reopen the batch so we can enter the batch just to see what we have here. And now I can click on gift entry to see a list of the existing gifts, and I'll choose one of those gifts. I'm going a little fast here, I know. There is another video on gift entry that will explain how to enter a gift in more detail. Near the top of the page we find the letter body field. Here you'll select the letter. You can click the little search icon if needed that you want for this gift. Some organizations have a different letter for each month. Some have different letters for different fundraising functions like a banquet letter. So when you print receipts, either emailed or printed, Denari will use this letter that you've selected in that letter body field when it produces the receipt. Printed receipts can be done in one of two ways, depending on what meets your needs. The most straightforward can be done from the batch. We'll click on the Gifts Pledges link again and gift batching. And now I'm going to choose a closed batch here. And so now that the batch has been closed, to print receipts, you would simply click on the Receipts button here at the top of the page. You can also see an e-receipts button here, but we'll come back to that. So when I click the Receipts button, Denari will sort through the gifts in the batch and find the donors whose preference is for printed receipts and produce a PDF file and put it in your inbox. You can click on the inbox here to retrieve that file. Just click the link and it will open in whatever program you have that handles PDFs. You can then print the receipts from there and drop them in the mail. The second way to print the printed receipts is by clicking the Correspond button or link on the left, and then click Thank You Receipts. At the bottom of this page are several fields that allow you to apply filters. For example, you can print several batches at once by entering a range of batch numbers in the starting and ending batch fields. You can print one receipt for a donor in a batch by entering a batch number in the starting and ending fields and then selecting a donor in one of those batches in the donor account number field. You can also print one receipt that is unrelated to a batch by entering a receipt number for that gift in the receipt number field. You don't need anything in the batch number fields for that. You also have a choice of outputs here. The two most common are other than the printed version, are Excel and Splat file. Both allow you to output the gift data to Excel. You can then use that as a data source to merge into a Word document or some other type of word processing program. This method allows you to design your own template and make changes whenever needed. The Excel file lists each split in its own row and can be a problem when doing a merge unless you don't need to list the splits on the statement. You can simply use the gift total amount field to report the gift amount. The Splat file, however, lists each split in a separate field that you can place in your merge document to show each split. You'll need to experiment with that should you decide to go that route. The last field allows you to print labels or envelopes at the same time. You'll get two files in the inbox, one for the receipts and one for the labels or envelopes. Now let's go back to e-receipts. Before you can send e-receipts, you must set up an approval code. To do that, click the email link on the left and then click on e-correspondence control record. Find the authorization information section and click to change the authorization code. Just enter your code here and then click on Change the Password button. Also, while you're here, you'll need to fill in the From User field with your company name. That's what will appear in the From field in emails that are sent. Also, fill in the Reply to Email field. If the donor hits the Reply button in the e-receipt, it will come back to this email address. Click Save to save your changes. Now we can go back to Gifts and Pledges gift batching, and we'll select that closed batch again. And now we can click the e-receipts button. And Denari will go through the batch and find donors whose preference is for emailed receipts and will produce receipts for them. However, it does not immediately begin to send emails. There's a checkpoint here to allow you to review them and be sure you really want to send them. You'll find them by clicking the email link on the left and then e-correspondence job queue. Here you find a list of email jobs waiting for approval. You can click the View Job link here on the right to view the emails and for accuracy and whatever other reasons you might need if you desire. Once you're ready to go, you can then click on the job and enter the approval code. Simply then click the button Approve Job, and Denari immediately begins to send off the emails. There's no stopping the process at this point, so you will want to be sure that they're actually ready to go. This concludes the video on receipts. If you have any questions, please contact tech support by clicking the Help button at the top of the Denari page and then click on Support.